Hello race fans, Peter Mackay here, welcoming you to the Nurburgring for the South African Sports Car Invitational. Joining me in the commentary box today is Dane Baird, and bringing you all these beautiful images and wonderful fancy graphics is Marco Barbanera in Rome. Today we are going to go racing for 1 hour around the more modern Nurburgring Grand Prix layout. Actually a wonderful circuit for racing sports cars. Tonight we will have a multi-class event between one of my old favourites, the Acura HPD ARX 01, a wonderful open-top sports car, and a plethora of GTE machines as well. The drivers are just out at the moment getting themselves warmed up in open practice as we speak. And it's a pleasure to bring you this event here on Apex Racing TV. If you're new to iRacing, well, welcome. We hope you enjoy the broadcast. And if you'd like to get involved here with us at Apex Racing, you can, apexracingtv.com. If you want to join the Apex Racing Academy to learn how to go quicker on the iRacing simulator, we offer that service as well. So let's see who's out on track laying down the fast times in practice. At the moment it's Yuri Umpy Swart who is the man setting the pace at this moment in time. A 1 minute 47.2 with Elliot Simpson running in second. And look at this wonderful machine, the Acura ARX, or HBD as some people call it, the Honda Performance Development. A car that's long been retired from regular service, raced very successfully in the American Le Mans Series, had 3 victories in the American Le Mans Series at Long Beach, at Miller Motorsports Park, and also at Laguna Seca as well, with a sponsor very dear to my heart, Tequila Patron. I do like a bit of Cafe Patron. A very nice sort of chocolate flavoured liqueur with tequila in it. It's as dangerous as it sounds. But wonderful car, 3.4 litre, naturally aspirated V8, only 825 kilograms, so super light and nimble. And many drivers who competed in this car refer to it as one of the best sports cars ever built in terms of its lightweight and its handling as well. As you can see, about a 10-second difference in lap time between the fastest of our prototype runners and the fastest of our GT cars. They do make their speed up in different ways. Of course, the prototype got a lot more downforce, a lot more mid-corner speed. But through the technical section, especially in the first section, the GT car can actually usually get a little bit of an advantage in there. So watch out for that in this 1 hour multi-class race today. We should expect the GT cars not to require a pit stop, and the prototypes will have to make one pit stop. So we'll see how that one plays out throughout the day. So now, for those of you who are thinking, where is Dane Baird? He is just having a couple of technical issues at his end, but he will be joining us in the commentary box in just a moment. Do not worry. You do not have to put up with my not so dulcet tones for the whole 1.5 hour broadcast. Of course, fans of South African motorsport will had their the premier sports car racing event last weekend, the Kyalami 9 Hours, which was won by the now quite long in the tooth BMW M6 GT3 of Augusto Farfus, the Brazilian ace, and Nicky Katzberg, the fast Dutchman, and also Kelvin van der Linde as well. They won the race and the championship in the Intercontinental GT Challenge. Well, wouldn't that be a cool circuit to have on the iRacing service, the Kyalami circuit? It's would be quite an addition to the ever evolving service that we have here on iRacing.com. Of course, the community gone wild this week with the addition of Long Beach. And what a circuit that is. Of course, a circuit that the prototype, the HPD ARX01C, won in the hands of Simon Pagenaud, Indy 500 winner, and David Brabham, Le Mans winner. Whoop. So we're just looking on screen right now at the number 12 of Timothy Stanton, who is in one of my favourite GT3 cars, the Mercedes AMG GT, a 6.2 litre V8 monster, and it just rumbles along. And you just look at the length of the front hood, the front bonnet of that car. Absolutely massive, but a wonderfully proportioned car. As you see the Acura coming up behind, it gives you an impression of the speed difference between these two machines. Of course, the prototype does without ABS, whereas the GT3 car does have the ABS. And also, I can see behind there, we've got one of the new Lamborghinis out on circuit as well. This beautiful machine has just come on to the iRacing service in the last week. The Lamborghini Huracan, winner of the Rolex 24-Hour Daytona, GT Daytona category for the last couple of years. Won this year in the hands of Paul Miller Racing, with one of the best amateur racers in the world, Madison Snow, racing with Brian Sellers and Corey Lewis. Very impressive outfit indeed. But there it is. There's the Lamborghini. What a wonderful looking car that is. The Lamborghini Huracan. 5.2 litre V10, naturally aspirated. Makes a wonderful noise. And what a great package this is. Really nice, steady, stable. A little bit strange. Seems a little bit more stable than the Audi, which of course it shares an engine with, and probably some other componentry as well. But not identical by any means. As it goes past the Ferrari GT3 there. Twin turbo car. Now, shall we have a Dane Baird check? Do we have a Dane Baird? No, we do. We do not. We'll have to do without Dane Baird for a moment. Just about 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in this practice session. At the moment, it's in the lead of the prototype. It's Yuri Swart with a 1 minute 46.96. The only man underneath the 1 minute 47 barrier, and he's actually holds a significant advantage, 0.8 of an advantage over Elliot Simpson in second in the prototype class. So Yuri Swart really laying down the law straight out the gates here in this South African Sports Car Invitational. In the GTs, it's Willem Botha in the number 3 car with a 1 minute 57.68, and in second in the GTs, Johan Furry, 157.9. So it's very, very close between the top two in the GT class. So who will take that one? It's going to be... Now, I have to say, this is an interesting livery here. The number 3 Audi R8 with a Toyota Gazoo Racing livery. What a strange combination, but nice colour scheme, nonetheless, as it is. So we'll have a relatively short qualifying session for the drivers. They will come out onto the circuit and we'll have just 3 laps of qualifying, 10 minutes, and that is all they will have to lay down their fast lap times. Of course, here at the Nurburgring, around this GP circuit, there is quite a lot of places where you can stretch over track limits quite easily, and if you do stretch over track limits, the iRacing service will give you a penalty. Well, it won't give you a penalty. It will disqualify your lap time in qualifying. So you've got to be very, very careful to avoid those off tracks, because they can be quite punishing when they want to be. Of course, for many of you, you'll be familiar with the Nurburgring Nordschleife, but this Nurburgring GP circuit, a little bit more contemporary, shall we say, built in the 1980s. In fact, Ayrton Senna won the first race here in a Mercedes AMG saloon car. They had a celebrity saloon car race, and even then, Ayrton Senna couldn't refuse a win, and he did so. But the great German racing driver Hans Stuck, he actually says his greatest win was here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit in 1988 in the ADAC Bilstein Super Sprint, where he won the race in the last ever works entered Porsche 962, beating Bob Wallach by 2 seconds. But that was actually with then a very much an experimental PDK semi-automatic gearbox, which of course you'll find on many Porsche road cars as well. And that's where it started. So, session is ticked over. And it's now time for qualifying. So a lone qualifying session, so the drivers have the blissful solitude of the circuit to themselves. All of the drivers basically go into their own private qualifying session where they do not have any of their competitors to worry about on track. So this is very much a measure of outright speed, so we get a good impression of what to expect throughout the race. Now, we seem to have an issue with Dane Baird, but to give you all a little bit of mild relief from my voice, I'm going to welcome to the commentary box our producer. Now, this man is a master of multitasking. He's bringing you these wonderful images and graphics, but also can bring us some insight to the race as well. Marco Barbonera, welcome.
Well, hello everyone. Hello Peter. Waiting for Dane to come, to his senses. His computer to come to his senses, I should say. Dane is trying his best. Well, great to be here. Thankfully, this time more of a, I was scheduled to be more of a, the broadcaster, because last time I did a terrible job in the Imola race, butchering the names of these poor drivers, which is, something that I don't usually do. But South African names are a step too far, even though there are two drivers with clear Italian origins, Leonardo and Sandro Biccari, so those names I didn't get wrong. And yeah, it's great to be here, and great to have these new Lamborghinis, speaking of Italian cars, running around for the first time, at least that I do a broadcast with, and I think it's the first time on our channel as well, so always an interesting stuff. Of course, these drivers were racing with the V8 supercars last time, so now it's a bit of a different situation with the HPDs and GT3s, and I agree with you. This HPD car, so beautiful. I think it will be missed by the in the official series. I know it was getting older, but I mean it screams mid 2000s, late 2000s prototypes to me, and those were the glory days, I think, of sports car racing in Europe especially.
I have to agree with you, indeed. Of course, the sports car racing in North America is in a brilliant place right now with the DPIs. But yes, I have to agree with you. This sort of late 2000s, when the LMP2 cars could compete with the LMP1 machines, then they did it in... the thing I loved about it, Marco, was that these cars, like the Porsche RS Spider or the Acura HPD, they would bring a very, very light car, only about 800 kilograms, a very high revving, naturally aspirated V8, but quite small capacity, and they would race against the turbo diesel Audis that had a lot more torque and a lot more power, but they were heavier. So at circuits like Long Beach, there were, and a lot of the street circuits that they had in the American Le Mans series at the time, it created some fantastic and really intriguing racing, actually. And so much so that in 2007, the Porsche RS Spider won 8 races in a row against 2 factory Audis and also Acuras from Andretti Green Racing.
I remember, of course, back then it was virtually impossible getting, that kind of racing coverage here in Italy. So I remember reading it like the week after on the weekly racing, magazine we had here, and I was absolutely shocked to see that little, because the Audi, I was used to seeing it at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, no? That was one of the few races we got live, so to see that car being so competitive and beating the Porsche, it was a beautiful little car, by the way. Yeah, I mean, when you say small and lightweight, it really gave off that impression when you looked at it, especially compared to the Audis, no? It was like a day and night comparison. Again, beautiful car, and a bit of a iRacing's GT3 class finally getting a bit more towards the modern side of things, of course, with the Lamborghini, and coming very soon the new BMW. So it's a bit of a time oddity that we have here with these GT3s and this HPD, but I like it, so I think we're going to have some fantastic racing.
We are absolutely, and you and I, we do like an oddity, don't we, Marco? We're very much like to be against the grain. Indeed. So the drivers just out at the moment, laying down their lap times, looking at the number 23 Lamborghini, and what a sound that thing makes. Robbie Teng's doing a great job right now. 1 minute 58.84 for him. That puts him 5th in class, just over a second off the outright pace of Johan Furi, and pace in prototype as well. Yuri Swart continuing his dominance from practice, 1 minute 47.14. Now Elliot Simpson has closed the gap though, just 0.4 of a second from Yuri. So we'll see how that one's going to play out over the course of the race.
Oh, a McLaren.
Oh, no, we don't see those very often.
Speaking of, time capsule GT3 racing, because this is, this is another cursed livery, I should say, because this is an Acura livery on the McLaren after the Toyota livery on the Audi. Oh dear, I love these things.
I like it, those little kind of comparisons. I think, Marco, we might have an issue with our camera software, because I'm still looking at an Acura in the pit lane, but I'm just checking my settings, because normally it's a blunder on my part.
This is quite the interesting moment. Now we should be looking at a Ferrari, Monster Energy liveried Ferrari, coming out of the hairpin.
No.
Okay, because I've been disconnected as a broadcaster. So someone is trying to connect as a broadcaster to the...
I could take a guess.
Yeah, so... apologies for this live troubleshooting. So,
I'm now looking at a Ferrari.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, so this Ferrari, this is a wonder. While you do your magic, Marco, I'll tell our viewers about this wonderful Ferrari, because it's the crazy thing about this car. It boggles my mind, and I think I mention it almost every broadcast as we look at the big flame spitting out the back of the Castrol McLaren. Fantastic. Yeah, the Ferrari, the actual street car, the basic street car, is 660 horsepower. The GT3 car, the racing car, is 490. It's so much so that it has to be really brought back down in power to be balanced with the rest of the field as well. I would imagine the same would be for the McLaren as well, the MP412C, the first car which the new formed McLaren Automotive Company built. And for a first effort, quite an exceptional piece of kit, actually. Very complex. I wouldn't want to maybe run one now that they're about 10 years old, but yes, very, very impressive indeed.
Hopefully we're looking at a Lamborghini.
Yes, with its full midnight lights on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So nice to see some of the newer cars and some of the older cars together on track tonight. Now the car is so new that I don't think we have the car logo for the Lamborghini, as you can see. But where you don't see the logo on the timing tower, that's a Lamborghini for you. So just... and we still have quite a few drivers that don't have a time, and I'm afraid they will not be able to get one in, considering that we are basically 40 seconds away from the end of the quali session. Therefore, these drivers will have to start from the back, and as per usual, they will be positioned on the grid based on their iRating.
I didn't know that's how they figured it out if there was more than one car that didn't set a time. There you go. I've learned something. I've already learned something new thanks to your ultimate wisdom, Marco.
That's the magic of never qualifying because I'm terrible, no? So I usually know.
I usually just have to accept my fate usually. But it's good fun actually. In the last week or so, I know a lot of people don't like week 13 because they think it's crazy and what have you. When the safety rating is not affected in a lot of races and what have you. But I actually quite enjoy it. I find it quite relaxing. You can go and enjoy yourself and not worry too much about stats and things like that. And actually, it's a whole lot of fun. So we wait for session. Aha! Here we go. We have race cars appearing out on circuit at the back part of the track beside the Advan Bend, named after, of course, the tire brand of the Yokohama Rubber Company. Of course, Yokohama Rubber Company have a bit of an affiliation with us here at Apex Racing because our new crowned world champion, Johan Harth, the new iRacing World Rallycross champion, and the runner-up of the iRacing World Rallycross champion, John Robertson, did so at the wheel of the Advan Subarus. And I tell you, they're brilliant-looking cars, Marco.
Absolutely. I think that that livery is absolutely amazing. I mean, the default Apex Racing team livery is beautiful, but that screams so much 90s WRC. That livery.
To me, it reminds me of the Super GT cars, or what was it called at the time, the GT 500 cars from the early 2000s, the Japanese livery. I have to say, I don't know what it is about Japanese liveries, both on racing cars and racing bikes. They just know how to do it.
Just as a friendly reminder that if you have winter to spend and no racing, Super GT have uploaded all the races, full races from 2009 to 2020 on their YouTube channel, divided neatly by season. So I'm going back through the history, and I'm watching the 2009 season, and there are some absolutely crazy cars there, including the Shiden, which was my favorite one because it was an early Daytona prototype that raced against Ferrari 430s and other stuff like that, so okay, so the starting grid qualifying results for the P2s. Swart on pole position in front of Ibson, Weiss, Mitchell, Sneyman, Thomas, Devilliers, Harold Campos, Van de Spy, and Kyle McCarthy. And now we should have the GT3s. Hopefully.
Yep, the GT3s, Johan Fury, William Botta, Scottish Hubert, Robbie Tings, and that is now my timing screen started to move around. We will do it on the fly, folks. You see, we've got a good crowd of GT3 cars, 14 GT3 cars and 11 prototypes. So there should be a lot of fun. Multi-class sports car racing at its very best. So we wait for the cars to come round, and then the prototypes will lead us away. We wait for the green flag. Gently preparing. And we are green here at the Nurburgring. Go, go, go. Down towards turn 1 they go. All the drivers showing good respect so far. Down into turn 1 they go. Very, very deep, long braking zone. Good overtaking opportunity. We've got to be careful not to lose it out. Oh, and there's got a couple of Ferraris having a big rub there into turn 1 and then into this stadium section. The Nürburgring Arena and the Mercedes Arena. Very, very tricky section here. Oh.
Bit of a parking lot there. There is an upside down Audi, I think. Yeah, that is Mike Verrier. And back to the leaders.
I think we've got another camera problem, Marco. I'm looking at a Lamborghini.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep getting disconnected from the server. So if you could just add a 2 next to South Africa on your live timing, room name, that should solve the issue. South Africa 2.
Okay, I shall do that when you take over.
So Swart Simpson already pulling away from Weiss, Mitchell and Sneyman. Again, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the names. I'm not usually in this situation. I promise you I'm better. But again, our resident South Africa. Oh, Kyle McCarthy is off. And he's bringing with him, I think, the pole sitter, the GT3 pole sitter in his Ferrari. He is having Kyle McCarthy. No, who was that? There is a GT3 car with completely broken front end. nothing left. William Berta is leading the way in the class with 8/10 of a second over Square Hubert and Shari Hubert, second and third. But I swear, oh, there it is. Jean Fourier is basically missing the entirety of his front end, but you know, he's keeps on going. Good for him.
I'm still looking at the Lamborghini, Marco. This is very strange.
Server issues, unfortunately. I think that we'll have to wait for the servers to get back up with our timing software, which is unfortunate because I keep getting disconnected as well.
Okay.
So you lead the way and I will follow with the camera, basically.
Okie dokie. Okay, so at the moment we have Elliot Simpson leading in prototype right now, battling away with Jonty Weiss, but he's just had a problem, and you see Elliot Simpson's name dropping down the timing screen right now. Not quite sure what has happened to Elliot, but he's moving around the timing screen. There seems to be something very, very strange indeed going on here. I do apologise, dear viewer.
See him in second place, but and Swart in first. The gaps right now are all over the place on the timing tower, so we apologize for that. So, big apologies, we'll have to go to a quick ad break and try to sort the issue. So we'll be back in a second with the race here live from the Nurburgring. Be back in a second.
Welcome back to Apex Racing TV. First of all, massive apologies here. Just a couple of little technical issues on our end. I'm not sure what the cyber gods have got in against us today, but it's we've hopefully got it more or less sorted. I tell you who has got it sorted right now. This man, the #1 car of Yuri Umpy Swart, doing a super job right now, leading the field confidently in his Acura HPD. 3 seconds to the good from Elliot Simpson. And these guys, not any mistakes so far from Swart, just trying to make his way through the GT traffic safely.
Oh.
That's always the... Whoa! Gee, I feel like I cursed him there. Off he goes at the Michael Schumacher S's. Oh, and it's Elliot Simpson spun as well. Whoa.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, what's going on there?
Exciting moments here. And now, side by side here between Mitchell and Thomas, apologies. This is a beautifully colored car, by the way, for Andrew Thomas as he goes by. Look at that.
Very jazzy.
Looks like a Picasso masterpiece.
It looks like Austin Powers' shirt.
Wow.
I love it, yeah. The more colourful, the better. That's what, at the end of the day, you want to stand out on track. And it actually reminds me a little bit of a BMW art car as well, which is very cool. So that was a little bit of a wobble there for Yuri Umpy Swart, dropping about 4 seconds from his normal pace, but not as much as for Elliot Simpson. I don't know if it's possible to get a replay of that. What happened to him? He lost 15 seconds on that lap with a spin at the Michael Schumacher S's, and that is just what we were saying. Getting through that lap traffic, the GT traffic, is really, really important. Of course, the GT is, interestingly, this P2 car would normally be racing with a GTE specification car, which is a little bit faster than a GT3 car. So that will make the prototype's job a little easier, but not by much. Now, I have to say I like this livery. Oh, I like that livery there on the 24 car. The HPD just pulling away there.
Oh, look at that, yeah.
Yeah, because Cal McCarthy, because that is an Audi factory. I think that's an R15 livery. I think the last open-top Audi prototype, which wasn't necessarily that well favoured by its drivers. But that was one, yeah, of course, Alan McNish, fellow Scot, was rather successful in Audi prototypes.
So it's Audi versus Toyota, but in different classes, of course, as you can see right now. You know what my favorite livery was on the Audi prototypes?
Go on.
It was the Privateer Run Champion Racing.
Oh, yes, Dave Mirage, the late Dave Mirage. Yeah, absolutely, I totally agree.
I think also Emanuele Pirro raced with them in the years where the Volkswagen Group pushed the Bentley factory drive. No, I think they finished third oh dear! That's some contact between Thomas and I think one of the Ferraris.
Number 27, that is Elroy Weiss,
yeah,
who
Ferrari
got tangled up in that. Oh, and he's in the wall. Oh, put it in reverse. He's got to take a tow to pit lane.
He
what a
got
shitty.
stuck there. That beautiful red Ferrari number 27, by the way, so I think perfect combination.
Yeah,
now,
that
for the
is a
life of
pity.
me, apologies, I cannot get the gaps to show for some reason on the screen. I'll try to work my magic behind the scenes, but I will keep on talking, because why not? And hopefully we can get them, because, you know, gaps are mildly important in a racing broadcast. The infuriating thing is that on the timing screen, I can see them, so there must be something that's not working as intended somewhere.
Yeah, we're doing it the old-fashioned way. It's a shame that, you know, of course, back in Formula One, and in all types of racing, back in the 60s and early 70s, they had the drivers' very, very beautiful wives and girlfriends on the pit wall with a stopwatch, Marco. If only that's the only thing we're missing to keep the timing up to date. Maybe we could have a Hublot watch like on the back of that Lamborghini there.
Okay, so the relative gap works, which is a start, I would say, and that can give us the close battles. So let's try to do. Okay, this is better, even though this is like the overall gap.
Perfect. I prefer that one. I like that one better. Excellent.
What if so it doesn't like the class gaps, but it likes the overall gaps. I mean, better than nothing, no? So we can work with this. Again, apologies.
We can.
Technology of course, sometimes works against us, you know?
It does. It's sent here to test us, I think. So for a quick guide, those with the yellow numbers beside their name are in a prototype, and those with a blue number beside their name are in a GT car. So we ride on board with the Lamborghinis, the number 23 car of Robbie Tings and the 72 of Sandro Beccari right now, running second and third in class. Now, the thing I love about these GT3 cars, Marco, is they have a really useful little display on their windshield that tells where they are in class. So we know that Beccari here running in this little group here is in 15th spot, but as you can see, he's running fourth in class with Tings in third. So they come through the chicane, the NGK chicane. Good spark plugs, NGK. And they come around the Coca-Cola curve and then back on quite a tricky corner. That one is quite blind to get the car sent out correctly, but Elliot Simpson now recovering in his Acura prototype, trying to get back up to second place where he was, but he's coming up behind number 4 car of Mitchell. And that very nice. I like the liveries on these. These look like custom liveries, I think, on these two cars.
Yeah, I see a lot of drivers running that particular livery that Simpson is sporting right now. So I guess that they are teammates. I think I saw. Yeah, there's another one. Snyman has one. And here we go with the attack from Simpson on Mitchell.
And the braking performance of these cars is fantastic because they're so light. You can really brake late really with these cars. They've got a wonderful pedal feel, excellent traction control. This is a car which really massages the driver. I mean, it still takes, it's still won all its races with really good drivers at the wheel, proper pro drivers. But an amateur driver could jump into one of these cars and drive it well. Do you remember the days of Level 5, Marco, where the infamous Scott Tucker used to... Infamous Scott Tucker, who's now in prison for payday loan scams and racketeering. But with actually not a bad racing driver, all told. Oh, we're going to get... Oh, God, be careful. So that's the Lamborghini. That's the 4th place class of... Now... That is Sandro Beccari who's gone off there.
Yep, he went off. I remember them winning, I think, Daytona in 2014 in GTD class with Townsend Bell at the wheel. And then mid-season, basically Townsend Bell and his teammates had to jump ship because the guy got into, let's say, legal troubles.
Yes, that's the understatement of the day. Yeah. And actually, he retained after winning Daytona. He retained that car and kept it in his house. And of course, for anyone who's seen the Netflix documentary "Dirty Money," he features in that, and they show you when the bailiff comes to collect that and what I think is an Acura HBD ARX 01 from his garage as well. So, shall we say he got what was coming to him?
Speaking of which, this broadcast is getting better and better because I think we have Dane Bird with us.
Yeah, I think I'm. Actually, I think my mic's about to explode.
You sound a bit.
Oh, Elliot Simpson! Oh, he's stopped in the side of the track. Oh my word! And sorry to interrupt the introduction of Dane Baird there, but at the Mercedes arena section, he's had a spin, just got on the power a bit early and looped it around. It's it's been nothing if not spectacular as Elliot Simpson's run so far. Still sitting 5th in class.
Yeah, Dane sounds a bit robotic. Let's see if he's back to his senses, his microphone this time.
Testing.
That's
Well.
Yeah. Well, you sound perfect, Dane. I'm very happy to have you, especially because you can spare my blushes with my awful pronunciation of these drivers' names. Therefore, I will go back to my normal role as a camera guy and leave you guys to it.
Well, thank you, Marco. It was a pleasure to have your company in the commentary box. I think the last time we were in the commentary box together was for Porsche Canada Lime Rock, I seem to remember, as well. But we now have a Dane Baird, and Dane, I know you've been while you've been dealing with some major technical gremlins, you've been keeping an eye on the broadcast stream. What's your thoughts so far of this race? Oh dear, indeed.
That looks like Colbert, and he's just retired back to the pit lane. He's taken a tow. I think he just lost it on the entry into the hairpin. He's found himself on the inside grass patch there. Not ideal for him, but yeah, only 20 minutes in. But from what I have seen, there's been quite a lot of action so far throughout the race. The field looks a bit spread out, but it's at least with people fighting for position anyway. But the prototypes making their way through the GT field now, and that's always a welcome relief from hot lapping if you're a prototype driver. It can get a bit sketchy at sometimes, but it's definitely better than just driving out all on your own, at least in my opinion anyway. I know some people would disagree.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, Dane? I know you and your team, Kairos Competition, do a lot of kind of quite high-level races, and I think the attitude to practice is quite important, because there's a lot of sim racers who quite happily just turn endless laps on their own and then get into a race and kind of get a little bit out of sorts because they're like, oh, there's other cars on the track. I think a combination of the two is quite important, because you've got to be quick in qualifying, obviously, but I think being match fit and being race fit is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in multi-class scenarios, you definitely got to be used to dealing with traffic where you can overtake, where your car is faster, where your car is not. And we've seen a couple of times prototype drivers getting caught out by GT cars not being quite as slow as they would expect. As we saw in practice, there was around about 10-second gap between the cars around a lap of the Nurburgring, but yeah, that's as you said, gain and lost time in very different places.
Indeed, yes, and there's certain bits where you can just get that little bit caught out. The really technical sections, these GT cars can just be that little bit quicker, and that can catch the prototypes out. So you've got to be really careful and plan your moves very carefully. As we see, Willem Buta. Did I get that one right, Dane?
Yeah,
no?
I think so.
Close enough. Yeah, Buta, and in the Audi R8 leading the way. Now this Audi has got a bit of a reputation, doesn't it? Because it can be quite twitchy on the limit. It's got quite a short wheelbase and obviously a very, very heavy engine mounted in the middle of the car. What's your experience of this one, Dane?
I have experienced its twitchiness many times. It's definitely one of the more difficult GT3 cars to handle. I'd say Ferrari is probably the easiest. The Mercedes used to take that title, being front engine, but about 6 months ago, the GT3 Mercedes had a bit of an update, and it's now a slightly more difficult car to drive than the Ferrari. If you can see on the timing tower, there's gaps in some of the next to some of the drivers where there should be the car manufacturer, and that's the Lamborghini, which doesn't have an icon yet.
Yes, and that will be cool once that one arrives, because it's, of course, the Lamborghini badge with the big bull on it. It's very cool, and oh, listen to this wonderful piece of kit. Now, I don't know, a lot of people saying, oh, this Lamborghini, it'll just be a clone of the Audi R8 because it's owned by the same company and uses the same engine, but it's a very different car. In the very early days of Lamborghini's GT3 cars, it did share a lot more with the Audi R8, but it's actually gone much more in its own direction with Lamborghini Quadricorse taking it off in their own development path. And I have to say, this car in its first week in iRacing, I've thoroughly enjoyed driving the Lamborghini. It's an excellent all-round package, I believe. What do you think?
And it sounds very nice indeed as well, which always helps. It's pretty difficult to drive a car that doesn't sound very good, especially when you're going to drive it at fairly long races. Lamborghini is going to be making an appearance in many of the iRacing special events. The IMSA sort of style special events that we've got coming up this year. That calendar's still yet to be announced. I'm waiting eagerly for that. But Lamborghini, I've done a couple of laps around in it, and it looks it's quite a bit of fun. It drives fairly similarly to how the Audi did at least last season, and this is a bit of a traffic drain here.
Oh yeah, big time. Oh, be careful! You're worrying about that blind spot there with the GT3 traffic, and great impression there. Just the agility of the Acura. You hear that? Oh, just so much better on the brakes. You can chuck it in, and it's
oh
such
dear,
a
there's a
predictable
car.
car. I think is that Elliott Simpson again.
No, that
it's his
is
teammate.
McCarthy.
Ah, okay, in the Audi livery car. Okay.
Oh, there is
it
another
is
car. That's Hubert, and he's just found himself off at the hairpin. Here is McCarthy trying to go around the outside of the Lamborghini and not able to make it work just yet. Bit of damage to the right front of that HBD.
Yeah, it's quite a fragile little car. You've got to be careful with it. It's you don't want to be causing too much damage. It's not far from ideal. I have to say the iRacing software guys, they must have been very busy over the last couple of months. I have to say the noise of the Lamborghini, particularly at Long Beach, when you're in the narrow streets there, and when you get the little downshifts when you're going into the opening section, this is the kind of fountain section, and you bang it down the gearbox, and you hear this crack, bang, wallop coming out the back, and it just echoes off the walls. It's just very, very special, and really with a good set of headphones, it gives you so much immersion as we see the Audi liveried HBD of McCarthy really struggling here. He obviously maybe nursing more damage than we think.
Yeah, no, a bit loose was Sandro as well in 7th. He's just 5 tenths behind Pinart in 6th, as that is a move up the inside, and technically this is for position.
Indeed it is. It's tell you what, it's been a solid drive so far, despite one little scare at the Schumacher S's. We've seen the number 1 car of Swart doing a grand job up the front there. Yuri Umpy Swart. And I have to say, I like this with the Tag Heuer badges on the front. Did you see actually this week, Dane, that the Tag Heuer Monaco that Steve McQueen himself wore while filming the film Le Mans, it went at auction this week for $2.2 million.
Wow. That's
for a watch.
lot, man. And that's my Peter Mackay fact of the day.
There you go. That's but it's also, I don't know if you heard this one. I got another one for you, Dana. Hans Stuck, he says his best ever win in sports cars was here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit in the ADAC Bilstein Super Sprint, which was in the last ever works entered Porsche 962 with what was then an experimental PDK semi-automatic transmission, which in the wet, he said that day was gave him the win by 2 seconds over the great Bob Wallach.
Well, learn something every single time I do a broadcast with you. Every single time. And we've got McCarthy batting it out with the Ferrari of Hubert. Both of these had troubles a couple of laps ago, and it should be an easy pass for McCarthy. And he is still well within that GT3 train. He's got, I would say, 10-second gap between himself and the other McCarthy on the circuit in the Ferrari 488 GT3. There he is, and he's gonna have to try and catch up.
Oh, the Lambo's up, the Cardi's off again.
Oh dear.
Oh no. in the hobbyshop.mx sponsored machine. Coming through the Mercedes arena now. Does he just get a little bit of... Now that is just the... Being mid-engine car, it has its pluses, it has its minuses. Mid-engine car, very maneuverable, good for change of direction. You've got most of the big weight in the middle of the car, but when it begins to pivot and it begins to rotate, you've got a lot more inertia to hang on to, hence the slightly twitchy nature, and that just caught him out there a little bit.
Yeah, very unfortunate for him. And the Lamborghini, you were talking about it at the start of the broadcast briefly. The Lamborghini really does look good, doesn't it?
Oh, it looks superb. I tell you what, you've never... I mean, of course, Lamborghinis have always been very aggressively styled cars, of course. But I tell you what, when it appears in your mirror during a race, it has got a properly ominous look about it. It's got a scary look. Oh, Byron Mitchell! Oh, Byron Mitchell's off into the barrier and has to take a tow back to pit lane. So he's obviously a quite a big one. Let's get a look. What do you see here, Dane?
Well, I don't see anything for some reason. Replay is not quite working.
Not to worry.
Unfortunately, but that looked like it was into turn 5. And there he is.
Yes.
It looks like he has hit the inside wall.
A bizarre incident there for Byron Mitchell. So into pit lane. Now we've also got... We've got Herholt in pit lane as well. Now, was that a drive-through he just served there? It seemed like it might have been. But I didn't see him stop to take service. He did. Sorry, it was a drive-through. Okay.
Yeah, I think that car has quite a bit of damage on it still as well. So I think he would have got that fixed, you would think, if he did stop to take a pit stop. So I think that was a drive-through penalty. Let me just have a look. The drivers get 2 fast repairs, so he would have taken a fast repair. Oh dear.
Oh, dearie me, that's Pinar gone off in the McLaren with the Acura branding on the back. I like that. That's very cool. Castrol, now, doesn't just a Castrol livery just look good on anything? You could put a Castrol livery on a toaster and it would make it look cool. Oh, taking off toasting. Look, I just love the way the flames just spit out the back of the... Creepers, that was close.
That was close. That was very close. Just to go back to the drive-through penalty, the drivers will get a drive-through penalty every 17 incident points that they get. And if you go off track, you get 1 incident point. If you lose control of the car and spin around or make contact with another car, light contact, or with a wall, you get 2 incident points. If you make heavy contact with another car, you get 4 incident points. Once you get up to 17, you get a drive-through penalty, and you'll be disqualified if a driver reaches 30 of those instant points. And just over halfway through the race, Herholt is well on his way to reaching that 30 instant point limit. If he carries on as he's been going, this is another pit stop, but this looks like one of the more scheduled pit stops, it looks like.
Well, the car certainly looks in good shape, and if it were a fast repair, he would just be doing a kind of stop and a go with the fresh car. So yes, filling up with fuel. So that indicates that the GT3 cars have had their fuel cells limited to force a pit stop, basically. So, wow, big! I love it on the overrun there of the big spits of flames out the back of the McLaren. Of course, the more modern McLaren GT3 car, the current GT3 car from the Woking factory. Oh, as we see now, that's interesting. We see Sean McCarthy taking tyres. Interesting. I wonder if Stephen McCarthy will do the same thing.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, it's a big strategy. It's a bold call, Cotton, as they say.
It definitely is. And the weather on the circuit, 23 degrees Celsius, that's definitely not in the range of my tyres are gone, Bonner. So I'm pretty sure that's fairly risky strategy from Sean McCarthy. I wouldn't have taken tyres. I don't think there's... Oh, that was
Peter Van Spoy. Peter Van Spoy there in the Tequila Patron car. That was very close. Very, very close. Now, I have to say, I do love these Tequila Patron cars for many reasons, Dane. One, because the great Scottish sports car driver based out in the US, Ryan Dalziel, drove for Tequila Patron for many years. And also, I have to say, I am quite partial to the Cafe Patron, which is a kind of chocolate and coffee tequila-based liqueur, which is a lot tastier than it sounds. It's very, very nice, actually. So I'm quite partial to Tequila Patron's products. Would you be?
Well, that sounds very interesting. You've got me intrigued, Peter. But
Oh, I've turned you. Turned you to a tequila drinker.
oh dear, Peter van der Spey. Yeah, he's currently a lap down in that 22 machine, heading through the first section of corners. I really don't like the arena section, and it seems to be an unpopular opinion. But
I'm with you there.
I would prefer for them to just take the chicane at the start.
It's tricky. Yeah, it's very, very tricky. It's a very technical section, and yeah, I can't say it's a very enjoyable section to drive. That's for sure.
It's
the
all
rest
very
of the
awkward, isn't it?
fantastic. Yes, it is. It's very. It does seem like the car is like, really? Is this an auto test or is this a motor race? You know, the like honestly, that's what it feels like. It feels like you're doing an auto test or an autocross in a car park. But once you get out onto the kind of wider expanses, some of the parts of the circuit fantastic. You know, the Warsteiner curve, Michelin curve, even the NGK chicane where you've really got to thread the eye of the needle. As Leonardo Beccari hitting more problems. In a Lamborghini, of course. He's got to be. He couldn't be in anything else. Well, maybe a Ferrari.
Of course. You couldn't have anything else, really, could you?
No, absolutely not. It's a shame that in Scotland we don't really have necessarily plenty of good drivers, but no manufacturers in Scotland anymore. Although they did make the company that made the original Mini, British Motor Company, they actually made tractors and trucks in Bathgate, where the Franchitis are from.
Well, lots of I don't really know of any Scottish sort of car manufacturers.
Hillman was one of them. We had the Hillman Avenger, the Hillman Imp, but that is about it. And much more in England, of course. Some crackers: Lotus, McLaren, Jaguar. Fantastic! I mean, lots of great racing marks in England.
Well, after a quick bit of research, Raptor Sports Cars is one of the few manufacturers in Scotland, and they make a car that looks a bit like a Caterham. Lightweight sports car, track day looking car, which is pretty interesting. So I think that's the only one. That's according to this article that I found anyway, 37 years since the last manufacturer of cars was in Scotland, and that is a car off the circuit in
one of the back marker Ferraris there. To see, but I tell you what, William Botha doing a great job at the wheel of this Audi, the Ingolstadt built machine. And of course, isn't it fantastic news, Dane, that we're going to have Audi. I mean, when I grew up watching motor racing, Audi were just such a dominant force at Le Mans. Their win rate was just incredible, which and you know, obviously, unfortunately, with the fallout from the Dieselgate scandal a number of years ago, caused them to pull their factory program, but they're going to come back to race for not only for outright honours at Le Mans, but also at Daytona, a circuit where they've never gone for outright victory before, and that's very exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting that a new LMDH class is looking very spicy indeed. Loads and loads of manufacturers entering into that category, which is great to see. Only the few manufacturers currently in the top tier of endurance racing, I guess you could call it, LMP1, which is just finished, of course, which is quite sad. They were some of my favourite cars to watch, but LMDH looks like it's going to be pretty good as well. And yeah, that's going to be definitely very interesting. It's something that we need in iRacing ASAP.
Well, I mean, who would have thought we would have got to a point in iRacing where we now have I think it's tomorrow actually, it comes out, the BMW, brand new BMW M4 GT3, which doesn't actually make its competition debut for over a year, but it's going to launch on iRacing, and before that, which is an extraordinary strategy, and aren't we lucky to be able to do that and get a go in that car, which is going to be a whole lot of fun as we see. Oh, a bit of oh, be careful. Oh, I thought that was going to be some Red Bull Turkey 2010 action there between the teammates, but no such problem. As Kieran Snyman blasts by his teammate Elliot Simpson with ease.
Yeah, I think that's actually a lapped car, potentially. I think Simpson is
3 of those
just
cars out
behind. There are 3 cars, yeah. And I think
Aha.
the one that was just in front is a lapped one, and there is Elliot Simpson there, who was just overtaken.
I see. I do apologise, dear viewer. I did think that's a very convincing way to overtake from third to fourth to third place. But I do apologise, dear viewer. Yeah, I love this livery. It kind of reminds me a bit of the cars when they run in. You see a road car in that kind of camouflage when they go out and do their road testing. It kind of looks like that. I remember when I used to, in my previous life as a booze salesman, used to travel up to Speyside quite a lot, and there was a road which Land Rover used for testing a lot, and I remember seeing the latest Range Rover Sport ones. I remember seeing the new Defender before it came out as well, and I was like, wow, that's enormous for a Defender. I mean, I always think the new car is always just bigger than the last one.
No, there's got to be somewhere to put the newer safety features in. I actually read an interesting article about that a few weeks ago. And yeah, the reason why cars are looking bigger on the outside but not much bigger on the inside is because of all the safety features they have to pack into them.
I see. And that's where I guess where the weight is going from as well. But I have to say, Dan, I need to be careful, because if I get onto my
dear, that's close.
to be very careful. As a Lamborghini right where you don't need it. But yeah, I got to be careful, because I despise SUVs, and if I get started, I won't stop. I just cannot stand them.
Simpson sending it down the middle of 3 wide, and he's up into third. Oh, he's not. Snyman just holding it around the outside there, barely side by side. Some good racing as they head up towards the chicane. Snyman just holding back a bit. I would not be surprised if he tries to get a good exit out the final corner and try maybe make a move into potentially turn 1. Let's have a look. We're riding on board with Simpson now, looking back at Snyman.
Yeah, Simpson looks to be on the charge now, definitely on the recovery. Of course, he was running second earlier on in the race, made a mistake and dropped nearly 20 seconds. But Jonty Weiss, oh, look at that. Look at the gap comparison. Just absolutely tearing time out of Jonty Weiss, with the exception of that previous lap. I guess that'll be because of the nearly incident with the Lamborghini at the Michael Schumacher S. Speaking of Michael Schumacher, is it fantastic that we're going to see Michael's son Mick racing in Formula 1 next year? Isn't that extraordinary?
Yeah, and Simpson starting to close down that gap very slightly. And here is McCarthy, I believe. Yes, it is. Making his way up through the GT field. That car is looking very, very damaged indeed.
Yeah, that's Johan Fury. Yeah, running in second right now in GT3, but that's not going to be good. Good news for William Botha, though. Of course, missing the front bonnet as well, which is never a good sign.
Yeah, you don't like to see cars missing their bonnet. That's definitely not a good sign. Weiss. Oh, he's got held up just a bit there. Unfortunately for him, Elliot Simpson Has something happened to Elliot Simpson? Has he been held up somewhere? Because Simpson has dropped back. Simpson.
That'll do it. So I think that's on schedule then. For usually that's about what you'd expect from the Acura fuel tank. So coming in to get a slurp of fuel. Of course, just a quick dash now to the end of the race. So in he comes into the pit box, parks up. Now you see the Porsche 911 pace car there, just ahead. Have you noticed that it's a GT3 Touring, Dane? If you look at the front bumper of it, it's a GT3 Touring.
No, I was under the impression it was a GT3, as the regular GT3 Cup car that we have here on iRacing.
It's a GT3 Touring road car because it doesn't have the wing.
It doesn't have the wing. Simpson's come out in a bit of traffic, and he's got battle for position just behind now as well, with Andrew Thomas right there behind 8/10 back.
Andrew probably owes us a pit stop, I would imagine, in this beautiful HBD art car. Really nice looking livery, that. I like that. There's been a lot of effort going into that. And oh, be careful! Oh, and the Ferrari actually dives out the way and straight into that's Dewey Joubert. Straight in the wall. Now, interesting, Elliot Simpson, the first of any of the prototypes to take an on-schedule pit stop. So maybe we'll see a little bit of activity now in the pit lane. Now, the Wild Rose Ferrari. I wonder what Wild Rose is. I wonder if it sounds like a wine. Of course, some excellent wines from South Africa. One of my favourites is Merlot Rubicon from Stellenbosch. Absolutely top drawer.
We have another HPD in the pits. Now, Jonty Weiss will be interesting to see where he comes out, because the gap was around about 20 seconds between himself and Elliot. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. Will he take tyres, as we saw one of the GT cars do earlier on in the race as well? I wouldn't expect it, but it's very easy to make that mistake, as Simpson easily passed.
So there you go then. So Elliot Simpson is, and there goes Jonty Weiss, and just jumps out ahead of Andrew Thomas, who will have to go in already. Oh, just lost it a little bit. Very easy to do there, coming out of that pit entrance. You just want to get going, and then as soon as you're out the pit entrance, you're like, oh, I need to brake. Damn. As we see this now damaged Ferrari of Dewey Joubert coming in, taking the fast repair, and all of a sudden, a nice shiny new Ferrari. If only it were that easy in the real world.
I'm sure endurance teams across the world would pay an absolute fortune to have a fast repair in some of the endurance races that we see in the real world. But yeah, a little bit of an LMP2. I want to say LMP2. It was an LMP2, but it's not really the LMP2 in iRacing anymore. It's just an HBD. As that spot as the LMP2 has been firmly replaced by the Dallara P217.
I have to say, I prefer this car in every possible way.
100%.
It's a wonderful piece of kit. It's like it is the black Labrador of racing cars. It is just so faithful. It never does anything that's going to embarrass you most of the time. And it's just the perfect race car. And I can imagine if you're racing one of these in a long race, it must have just been a privilege. And of course, interestingly, when Audi introduced the R15 LMP1 car, which was the second generation of the diesel prototype, and that was when the Peugeot, I can't remember what it was called, HDI FAP, the LMP1 prototype that they had, it had a roof, and that was very much where Audi got found out. That was where it was found out that having the roof was much more effective aerodynamically, and of course much more effective in terms of safety as well. And from that point on, the open top prototypes days were very much numbered. But better to have the safety I would believe. But in terms of driving on a sim, give me the open top any day.
And that was one of the arguments as to whether or not the Delar IR01, the new Formula car in iRacing, should have the halo or not. There's no need for safety in the sim, because your virtual driver is in no danger if you slam into a barrier. So there's not really much need for it, and all it really does in the sim is block the screen. So that was one of the main reasons. And it has to be said, the visibility from an LMP with the closed top, very, very poor.
It's hard. Yeah, it's very, very hard. And actually, I find it particularly difficult at low speed when the car also... I'm a big fan of the LMP1 car, the Porsche hybrid, and it's when it's not, it's a little bit cumbersome at slow speed. And yeah, that's when the not so good vision is not very helpful. Indeed. Now, that's interesting. Andrew Thomas goes past John T. Vice. These guys are having a good old ding-dong. This is not what John T. Vice needs. Oof. They're having a great battle, but Andrew needs to come into pit at some point, and we've got less than 10 minutes of this race to go.
Yep, very, very firmly into the closing stages of the race, and that is not the braking zone, my friend. As Sneyman making a bit of an error down into turn number 1, and we've got 3 cars separated by just over a second now.
We do indeed, yeah, of course.
4 cars. Oh wow,
yeah.
4 cars in the space of 4 seconds.
Keegan Campos, right on board with him. He's heading down towards Warsteiner Curve, my favourite corner on the circuit because it's named after a beer. And then a quick right into, sorry, it's Michelin and then Warsteiner. That point. Leader in pit lane, Yuri Swart. It's been a great drive from him so far. He's got a pretty big advantage, coming in with a 50-second advantage over Elliot Simpson, which should be enough. He won't need much fuel at all. Probably only about 4 or 5 laps worth of fuel, so not too much to worry about there. Now the Tequila Patron car has, well, got some pretty significant damage at the back there.
Yeah, that is very bent at the back. Lots of scratches on the side of it as well. That's not going to be giving Peter any help at all in terms of aerodynamics. Let's see what happened then to the driver of the number 22 machine. Punt.
Oh, big punt.
Was that Elliot?
Could have been.
It was.
Oh, now I would imagine that won't have done the front bodywork of Elliot's car.
Oh,
Oh,
that's the leader.
Yuri Umpy Sport. Now, has he taken too much fuel? It would appear so.
Look, yeah, it looked very desperate to get going, revving on the limiter as the car was released. Let's see what happened here.
Did he maybe overshot? I don't know. Maybe serving a penalty if somebody was in there for a long time and he's dropped to 6th. Oh dear, oh Yuri.
Definitely not ideal at all.
He appeared to have it on the limiter before coming over the pit lane line, but who knows? As we see now, Elliot Simpson, he has had an eventful race, but he's now got a 10-second advantage with 7 minutes to go. It just shows you in endurance racing, Dane, you are never out of it.
Has Swart just gone back into the pits?
He's in pit lane. Something not right there at all.
No.
Oh, Williams is off as well.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. So Yuri Swart has dominated this race and is now spending the latter part of it in the pit lane. What on earth is going on? Did he have it? Now did he? It looks like he might have had a spin coming out.
Cold tires, maybe? Oh.
Something's not right. There's maybe a technical issue of some description, maybe, that is bothering him. Very strange.
Very, very strange indeed.
It's been a bizarre.
Maybe there was. Has there been a pit exit infraction? And let's see. Passes the green cone's fine. Then the limiter comes off. Is the line crossed? No, it doesn't look like it. No, the line has not been crossed, so there is no pit lane infraction. Doesn't look like there's any. Oh, hang on. Does the wheel get reset here? No. And then I lose connection. And then just stops and tows back to the pits. Very, very interesting stuff.
Very strange one, but nevertheless, Elliot Simpson, well, he's going to complete, it would appear, he's 5 minutes from completing the spin and win. He had a monumental spin into the barrier at the Michael Schumacher S, and has been involved in a few little incidents, but leads this race. Yuri Swart, our former leader, is out. Goodness me, it's been that sort of race. In GT, well, it's been an absolute masterclass from Willem Buta, who's right here in the Audi, makes plenty of way for the prototypes. That's very, very smart when you're leading a race. Sometimes you get quite a bit of, shall we say, stubbornness from the GT cars, but Willem being very clever there.
And we're just looking at Sneeman and Weiss. And Sneeman trying to defend from the latter. This is for second, of course, second and third in the race. A good 6-second gap between these two and Andrew Thomas, as Kyle McCarthy has moved up a position in class as Swart is out of the race, retired. Very, very strange there, but Sneeman trying to defend that lead that he's got, and now Chase Herholt, after, of course, having that drive-through penalty earlier on in the race, now goes to a schedule. Weiss is around.
Oh, jaunty.
And that looks like Andrew Thomas has got past as well. So not only has Jonty Weiss lost out on second, he's lost out on the podium as well.
Well, it's not done yet. Just a couple of minutes to go here, but Andrew Thomas, he wouldn't have, he would have been very happy to see Jonty spinning about on the grass saying, oh, I'll take that one. A nice little bonus there. Just tucks. Now, you and I, Dane, I think share a collective sympathy for Jonty there, because in that technical section, it's just, you've got to be so precise and it's so tricky, and it just caught him out there.
Absolutely, just one wheel on the grass is all it takes. The lack of grip unsettles the car completely if the grip for all four tyres is not the same. And that was enough to just send the car spinning around, and Jonty Weiss, with just 3 minutes left of the race, has got some work to do to try and catch up that just over 3-second gap between, oh no, it's a 12-second gap to himself from Thomas. So yeah, that looks like fourth is where he will finish, unfortunately for him. But continuing to extend his lead at the top of the GT class as well.
He is, yep. It's Audi from Audi from Ferrari from Lamborghini. So good balance of performance certainly working there in the GT class, which is always nice to see. Now, Andrew does owe us a pit stop. Now, how on earth is that car still going? Because usually the Acura should be needing some juice by now, so this would be the fuel saves of all fuel saves, surely.
It definitely would. I think there was a slight timing glitch there, because I saw Jonty Weiss 12 seconds behind just a few moments ago, and I don't think Jonty Weiss is able to gain that much time in such a short amount of time. But he's right on the back of Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas lets him by. Now that's really, really interesting that Andrew Thomas still owes us a pit stop, because we've seen drivers pitting well over 10 minutes ago in this class. That really would be an insane fuel save if Andrew Thomas can make it to the line here. Just over a minute to go as well. It's looking likely.
he appears to be properly coasting now.
Yeah.
I think he's now got the alarms gone on, the lights are flashing on the dashboard saying, you know, it's hello, I'm an Acura and I'm thirsty. Please give me some race fuel now. There's only so I mean the Acura HBD ARX01C, to give it its full moniker, is in my opinion, one of the greatest race cars ever built, but it can only do so much. I think now, do we see, is Andrew Thomas coming into pit lane? Yes.
Let's have the fuel.
A coast.
Oh dear.
That into the petrol station, that sort of just dip the clutch in and just go, please roll, please make it into the petrol
It's not
station.
downhill. The pit lane.
Pit limiter.
No, the pit lane is slightly downhill, but the entry to the pits is actually slightly uphill. Has he made it? Oh, it's very close. It's very close. You got to hope for him. His pit box is right at the start, right at the end of the pit lane. He's not going to make it.
Oh, you can hear it coughing now. Who's blown their engine at the top of pit lane as well?
That's a Ferrari, I think. I saw.
Of course. Oh,
Oh no, it's not.
you don't see
Byron
that very often.
Mitchell.
Byron Mitchell is blowing an Acura V8. Well, who would have thought?
Oh,
I think-
it's going to be so close with Andrew Thomas. I think he's just about made it. That's
Tell you what.
incredible.
That's who you want driving your car. They say that's almost Scottish levels of fuel saving there.
And he's back out.
Oh, brilliant! So the white flag is already in the air. We wait for our leader to come around. Elliot Simpson comes around the NGK chicane for the final time to negotiate Coca-Cola curve. And he is going to be your winner here in the South Africa Sports Car Invitational. It's Elliot Simpson, your winner in the prototype class. And now we wait. It's going to be, oh dear me, it's going to be just about a 1-2 in the team. Ewan Snyman comes through to take second. Now we wait, where is our GT leader? Willem Botha. So we see Jonty Weiss coming to take the last spot on the podium in the prototype class. But where is the Audi of Willem Botha? Here he is, coming up towards the NGK chicane. Say that one backwards.
MG Kane.
Chicane, yes, you say it just quickly all together at once. Yeah, but brilliant drive here from this guy, Dane. Really superb in this Audi. He's been imperious.
Absolutely. In that Audi, one of 3 Audis in this race. The Ferrari seems to be the car of choice, and there are 2 Ferraris. There is Johan Buri. Was that a punt or was that losing it by himself? Oh, he kept out the wall. He's got to try and make his way around the final corner. He's going to keep second, it looks like. But oh, is that car out of fuel? It is. He's out of fuel.
Someone give him a push.
Robbie Tien's
that's
just coming around the final corner now. That's going to be incredibly tight. Look at, there's the checkered flag.
Here comes
Oh,
Robbie
it's going
Tien's.
to be so close. I think Robbie Tien's got it.
Yes!
Oh, just.
Oh,
Or has he?
I
No.
don't know.
Our timing screen to say that Johan got it. Let's.
I think so. Yeah, he did. Okay. So that was Timothy Stanton, who's a lap down.
Ah.
But, exciting nonetheless. So, Willem Botha wins then. Johan Furey limps. He gets his fuel strategy absolutely spot on, or just. And we get our
about.
last. Yeah, just about as well. Some brilliant fuel saving
dear.
efforts there. We've got a Ferrari on its roof. The car on
Bang.
its roof is a
And
Ferrari.
flipping
Whoa.
off with Ferrari. Oh, is it going to land on the other side? Oh, iRacing reset. That was going to land just after turn 4.
We're going to land halfway down the Nordschleife at that. Oh, poor Ferrari, sitting there like he's just been put on his roof by Dane Baird. Oh, bang. And
That's
it's
exciting golf.
indeed with race cars, yes, indeed.
Yes.
Well, see how they finish then for this South Africa Sports Car Invitational here at the Nurburgring. Confirmation of your winner then in prototype. Yuri Swart wins by 0.8 of a second. That can't be right. from Elliot Simpson with... now, that is definitely not right at all. Elliot Simpson was our winner. This is qualifying. There we go. Okay. So Elliot Simpson was the winner then by 14 seconds from Kevin Snyman, with John Weiss in third. Garth de Villiers fourth, followed by Andrew Thomas, Keegan Campos, Peter Van Spee, Jace Herlott, Cal McCarthy, Yuri Swart 5 laps down, and Byron Mitchell also 16 laps down. And in the GT class, it was Willem Buta, followed by Johan Fury, Robbie Tings, Sandro Beccari, Willem Pinar, Sean McCarthy, Dawi Joubert, Timothy Stanton, Rainer Joubert, and Mike Verrier. Steve McCarthy was 11th, followed by Scoas Joubert, Leonardo Beccari, Colin Plitt, Peter Joubert, Charles Joubert, Eugene Manouk, and Elroy Weiss. And finally, Andrew Colbert and Cyril Ginsberg. That is all that we have time for here on Apex Racing TV. Thank you very much for watching this broadcast, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.